and welcome to Northside NOW. This is the podcast where your lovable hosts take you on a tour through all of the ministries and the latest happenings around Northside Church to keep you better connected with your church family. I'm one of your hosts, Patrick, and with me as always are my two fabulous co-hosts, Glenn Miller and Kevin Bryant. What's going on, guys?
He's back. Is
that the real Patrick?
That's the real Patrick.
Hey, welcome back.
No more cricket.
I'm the real Patrick. So what did I miss?
You didn't miss anything.
Nah, we didn't do anything.
We talked about movies.
We never did a last episode. Don't listen to it.
Oh no, don't worry.
He's
I
already
have.
listened to it. Oh, we're in trouble. We're in
Here it
trouble.
comes. You predicted it.
Why is he holding a gun?
You know. No, honestly, it's probably good that I wasn't here because y'all talked for an hour without me. If I had been here, we never would have ended. So,
Yes, what people may not know is the actual recording was much longer.
Kevin did a really good job of editing that.
Yeah,
while
we
you were
could have
gone.
talked for
That was
probably
good.
3 hours just about movies. But
I've been talking my whole life about movies.
I know.
So
We knew it. We knew it would get you going. You probably have something to even say about that.
Well, I was taking notes. I was fact checking. Don't get me wrong.
That's awesome.
We did the episode "Prove Patrick Wrong." I was kind of hoping this could be a "Prove
that'd
Kevin
been
and
good.
Glenn
Yeah.
Wrong."
Oh, goodness.
But,
Yes.
But really, there was only one thing that I caught. That
Only
y'all got
one
wrong.
thing?
Yeah. So, how many James Bond movies were there?
Well, I think there's actually
A bunch. I just picked a number.
20-ish, maybe. It's up more than 15-ish.
Because I think Glenn said 15, and you said in the teens.
Yes.
Yeah, I picked more James Bond than Fast and Furious. That's what I was going for.
9 million thousand.
There are actually 26 James Bond movies.
Holy.
We were only 10 off.
Wow.
26. Wow, that is good.
Well, so if they're each, an hour and a half times
And-
20.
Well, who played the most James Bond movies? Which James Bond?
Ooh, this is a good question.
Actually, I take that back. I miscounted. There's 27.
Oh,
I was
boy.
wrong, too. There were
Oh,
27 James Bond movies.
And once again, folks, we have proved Patrick wrong.
Well,
Again. Now, how many
who played the most James Bonds? Which guy?
guess.
I'm going to say Pierce Brosnan, maybe.
it's either that or Sean Connery.
Yeah, I think it's those two for sure.
There's a tie.
Oh, is it really?
Between two actors.
Oh, wait, it might not be Pierce Brosnan, though.
Roger Moore, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it Roger?
It's Roger Moore and Sean Connery.
Oh, God.
Have both been in
forgot
7
Roger.
James Bond movies.
Wow.
Yeah, and really, when I was youngest, Sean Connery and Roger Moore were the James Bond, and I remember Pierce Brosnan came on, but for some reason it just seemed like he did a lot of movies. But
Yeah, I don't know.
nowhere near it. There was a bunch more.
I was thinking Roger Moore. That was going to be my answer, really.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan has only been in 4 James Bond movies.
Wow.
And 2 Mamma Mia movies, so he's,
Well,
you know.
although if you consider now hear me out. This is a theory that I hold to. Have you seen the movie The Rock with Sean Connery?
Yes.
and
Welcome
Nicholas.
to the
Yeah,
Rock.
Welcome to the Rock.
Yes.
That one. Yes, that a lot of people say is a James Bond movie, and it's an old Sean Connery James Bond that has been
Portrayed.
Yeah. So Sean Connery's basically playing like an older version of his James Bond character after he's been sort of like disaffiliated.
Huh.
I've never heard of that, but that.
Because in the movie they
love
say
that
he's
movie.
like an ex-British intelligence
Yeah,
officer.
yeah.
So
That's-
that's
I
kind
get
of
it.
the thing.
Yeah.
So
Kinda
if
cool.
we're
That does work.
So if we're considering The Rock a James Bond, then yes, Sean Connery has been in the most James Bond movies.
Well, I'm afraid it didn't have the. It wasn't canon, was it?
No,
Yeah,
no, it's not
right.
canon.
Right.
And that's a funny reference.
Daniel Craig is about to be in his 5th.
Yeah.
So
But
he's about to.
Didn't he say he was done?
Yeah, he's been saying that for since he started. Basically.
Now, what TV show was Pierce Brosnan in? Wasn't it like wasn't moonlighting, but it wasn't in that age range before he became
Remington Steele.
Remington Steele. That's
Oh,
it.
yeah.
That's it.
I ran across that reference and Magnum PI the other day.
Oh,
which
Magnum is awesome.
Is sad. I didn't realize there had been a reboot to that show.
I know.
Yeah.
It's not as good,
That in Hawaii
but it's
5-0.
not bad. It's not.
Pierce Brosnan is always James Bond to me, though, because I grew up in the 90s and
Yeah,
I played a whole lot of
I was gonna say,
GoldenEye on the
GoldenEye,
N64. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
who is James Bond to you?
Well, now that we've talked about it, I'm going to have to go with Roger Moore. Yeah,
I think
I had
probably.
just forgotten him for a little bit, but yeah,
Although Sean Connery was the originator of it.
he was. I would. Roger Moore was the one I saw the most movies of, kind of growing up, when that was formative for me.
Yeah.
And
But to me, I've enjoyed most all of them.
yeah,
Except for the one hit wonders in there.
but it is James Bond, though. You know, that's the thing, is James Bond is just cool. He's the best toys, and he's got the, you know. Honestly, my favorite character of all, is it Q, the guy that works on makes all the weapons,
all the gadgets.
That's
So yeah, who's your favorite Q though? Would be the.
oh goodness. I don't know his name.
It's got to be John Cleese.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I can see his face, and now you said his name. That's it. Yeah. I didn't know his name.
Well, and y'all were talking about like the highest grossing summer movies and all that.
Yes.
Of the James Bond movies, other than Skyfall, because Skyfall was on that list.
Right.
What is the second highest grossing?
Like Lifetime.
Yeah. Oh, adjusted for inflation.
Lifetime worldwide.
Well, let's just say box office.
Okay.
Would it be GoldenEye?
Live and Let Die.
It is Thunderball.
Really?
Oh,
Yes.
Wow.
Adjusted for inflation, box office had made $820 million.
Wow.
Adjusted for
that's
inflation.
pretty
Back in
decent.
1965.
Wow.
In 1965, it actually pulled in 124 million at the box office.
So pretty much everybody went and saw that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That wasn't the first one, was it?
No, the first one was Dr. No,
Thank you.
1962.
Wow, that franchise has been around for a while.
Yeah. And then Daniel Craig's about to do his last one.
Yep.
And-
It was supposed to come out last year.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for it for over a year. I was very excited about it.
Yeah, we talked about that with a few of them.
No Time to Die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I've been kind of on a James Bond kick for a little while, just because when we were in Washington, D.C. last night,
Last night.
Last week, I'm still a little foggy. But when we were in Washington, D.C. last week, we went to the International Spy Museum.
Oh, there you go.
I wasn't expecting it to be as cool as it was.
Oh, good.
It kind of came out of nowhere.
So was it like cheesy?
We were expecting it to be kind of cheesy and everything.
So
But
did
no.
it focus on real spies, or
Yeah.
did it have like a area where it gave to like James Bond? And
Yeah, it was multiple floors, and this place was like state of the art. And you go in, and then you get your like secret identity, and you do all this kind of stuff. And there's a briefing, and the briefing's narrated by Morgan Freeman.
Oh,
so
that's
it was
cool.
kind of cool. But you go in, and then it kind of walks you through the history of spies and deception and intelligence, and it goes through like a lot of real world stuff. I mean, there's a whole bunch of Cold War stuff, but modern day stuff sort of. There was like a room that was dedicated to like spies in fiction. And so you had your James Bond and your Jason Bourne and all those guys. There was a whole lot to do with like Severus Snape from Harry Potter, because he was like
Really?
a double agent. So
Okay.
he was in a lot of stuff. They had like
Secret Agent
Alias TV shows and
Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget.
So who is the most famous real U.S. spy?
You'll never know.
That was good.
I don't know.
Well, it would have to be probably someone who was caught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
But to be the
Patrick's
most
But
point.
famous.
then, I guess just because you're the most famous doesn't mean you're necessarily the best. So,
Yeah, the
Yeah,
best
I don't
spy
know.
would be the one nobody knows about.
yeah.
Well, then
Well-
who's the most famous in fiction U.S.? Because James Bond's U.K.
Yeah. Probably Jason Bourne.
Yeah, it had to be Bourne.
Yeah.
So, Patrick, how was your little journey to the Northeast?
It was fantastic.
Filled with food.
It was
fun.
Yeah. A lot of
and
food.
Some more
That's all he's
food.
talked about is the food.
Well, that's the best
Making me
part.
hungry.
We were only in Maine for 3 days, so we decided to make the most out of it. We like ate lobster for every meal.
Ooh.
We had lobster mac and cheese.
Okay.
We had multiple different lobster rolls. We did a real traditional lobster dinner where like pulled it apart.
Yeah, you probably should fit that
had
in.
to do that at least once. I had like lobster omelet for breakfast one morning. We
Wow.
tried lobster ice
Ice
cream,
Yeah, no.
which was weird, but we tried it. It was all right at first because it's basically just like vanilla ice cream with frozen lobster in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was hot while we were there, and so as it started thawing, then the lobster started getting kind of chewy in the ice cream, and then it got weird. It was more of a texture thing.
That would have been tough.
Yeah, they were having like a record heat wave while we were up in Maine, and everybody was complaining about how hot it was, and people were apologizing and saying, I'm so sorry, whatever.
We're so sorry for the weather.
It was like 72 degrees outside, and there's like no humidity.
Oh,
You people in Maine that are listening to this, sorry, you just don't understand the southern heat.
I know. Well, okay, to be fair, nowhere up there has air conditioning.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
And so inside was like 10 degrees hotter than outside.
Got it. That makes sense.
But I mean, most places still had outside eating
Yeah.
and everything. We were walking around all the time. And so it was like, y'all need to come hang out in Tennessee for a little while to get some perspective on heat.
Seriously.
So,
yeah. We're excited if it gets to 72 at night.
yeah.
This time of year.
So, but
Yes.
yeah, no, it was fun. The first 3 days were kind of relaxing, and then it was pretty breakneck all the way back because we rented a car and drove back from Maine to Tennessee. So
I see.
it was a good trek, and we stopped in pretty much every major city on the way back. And
Well, you know, that's a real challenge when you're taking a vacation, especially to somewhere you've never been before. You want to see stuff. Well, some people do.
Yeah.
I mean, some people just want to go and just not do anything for a week. And I'm usually mostly about that. But for the most part, if we're going somewhere where there's things to see you might not ever see again, we try and pack it in. We tend to probably, maybe it's just me, tend to put too much in the schedule. So by the time we get back, I mean, any kind of travel makes you tired anyway.
Yeah.
But then we just feel like we went, and we never stopped. And now go back to normal life as exhausted people.
that's basically what we did, because part of the reason we picked to go up to New England area was that we'd never been up in the Northeast before.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
We, on our way back, we decided to see as much as we could. And so we're like, we're only in New York City for 2 days. And so it was pretty breakneck the whole time, because you could spend, I mean, weeks and you'd still not see everything. And same way, we were in Philadelphia for a day,
Right.
and Washington, D.C. for 2 days. And it's like, you could spend 2 weeks in the Smithsonian alone
Yeah,
in Washington,
exactly.
D.C. And, so when we only got 2 days, it's like, you really can't see everything. But I said as my vacation sampler platter. So I got to kind of get a taste of each place and see what I wanted to go back to and spend more time in. So
which ones would be at the top of your list to go back?
I'd definitely like to go back to Washington, D.C. and see the Smithsonian, because
It's pretty cool.
we didn't
Yeah,
get
it is.
to really go in, because a lot of places were still on COVID hours, and you had to
Yeah.
like book times in advance. And we got on to book, and they didn't have anything available until like mid-August. So
Wow.
we were, yeah.
Well, that reminds me, it's like what I tell my kids about potluck suppers. Did you guys grow up with those?
Oh,
Of course.
definitely.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you get a little of everything, and then what you want to go back for.
Exactly.
Now,
Yep.
the issue there is it might be gone by the time you get back.
That's true.
But with a vacation like that, you can decide, well, hey, you know what? We liked this one thing. Let's go back and do a whole, weekend in Boston or whatever. And so that, I guess, would be the positive.
We were only in Boston for like an afternoon. Boston's one of the places I'd like to go back and see a little bit more. And also Philadelphia. That one kind of came out of nowhere. Like I didn't really have high expectations for Philadelphia, and then it turned out being really cool.
Yeah,
and so
cool.
I'd like to go back and spend a little more time there too.
What else is going on, Glenn?
I don't know. You started talking about potlucks. Now I'm thinking about that.
We've been on the food kick this episode.
Well,
so
the
far.
thing is, when you grow up as a preacher's kid,
Oh man,
you have to get a spoonful of everything, because some little old lady at a church is going to walk up to you and go, "Did you like my pea salad?" And you're like, "Yes, ma'am."
You better believe it.
What was pea salad? So I got to thinking about that. I was like,
I have a lot of memories growing up in a very small country church.
Yeah.
Where we had them. Seems like it was almost every week.
yeah,
And you could tell who made what because they brought the same thing most every time. But that was okay, because especially some of the stuff was just, their macaroni casserole was the best.
That's
of
their
all
signature
of them,
dish. Yeah.
We'd always bring something from the garden because my dad's a gardener. So we'd either have sweet corn or something there.
I'll bet y'all were the hit.
Well, it usually was gone pretty quickly.
yeah.
And I usually didn't get any of it, but that's okay because we had it at home.
Had it at home. Yeah.
But it was it was so much fun. I remember going through the line and getting to the dessert table. All the pies and
all the jellos, gelatin
goodness.
molds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that was great. As long as, my grandmother came from the generation, she put vegetables in her jello.
Yeah.
So we always had
vegetables.
Well, carrots. And
you go back and you look. I was looking at some old recipes. Don't ask me why, but back, especially like in the 50s and stuff, everything had gelatin in it. Everything was a gelatin mold.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous. You
I don't
put
know if
anything
I've ever
in
had
there.
vegetables in my
Savory jello.
I've had fruits in my jello.
Yeah, so we would have jello with like mandarin oranges or
fruit,
something in that. But she'd put carrots in it and it'd be served on a bed of lettuce.
Mm-hmm.
That's new for me. That wasn't a Texas thing.
So anyway, but yeah, it was potlucks were the thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And we just don't have them anymore, or at least a church our size don't seem to have them very often.
Well, nowadays when I've gone to a potluck or, bring a
people buy it and bring it.
Yeah. You get a box of Popeyes, you get a box of Chick-fil-A or tray of Chick-fil-A.
That's kind of the when we used to do the Yada Sisterhood here at the church. That was a big potluck, and you'd have 800 women show up, and they'd fill the gym with tables full of potluck. But you'd walk through it. Here's your Little Caesars pizza. Here's your Kentucky Fried Chicken. Here's and so you'd get a couple of homemade dishes, but everything else was like people just picked up a Chick-fil-A party platter on the way in. And
that's not a condemnation, but it is kind of a commentary.
Yeah,
on
definitely
where we are,
our society,
as
culture,
American families. Are we over busy? Are we overstressed? Are we all those questions?
I would say yes to everything.
Yeah, and I am the same way. I'm over busy and maybe overstressed. So the question is for us, how do we do something with that? Is that the way God intended it? And where does rest fall in our schedule? That's definitely something I've been thinking about in the last 5 years.
Yeah. If you can figure out where the rest is supposed to go, let me know.
Because I'm with you, Kevin. I mean, so often, in youth ministry, you're kind of an event planner as well.
Right.
And coordinator and everything else. And when you got kids, vacation does seem to be another event, because you're going to go and you're going to run, you're going to entertain the kids, because the last thing you want to hear is them sitting at the beach going, I'm bored.
Right.
And so you spend, lots of money on go-karts and putt-putt golf and stuff they would never do in their own hometown. I mean, we do tend to not rest well, or we rest too well. Some people just rest too well. They don't ever. So we have a hard time with balance, I think.
Man, I think that's true.
We just don't like to balance.
Well, I think we run so hard that when we do get a chance to rest, we just kind of crash. And
Yeah.
At least I do.
When I made a career choice, I guess it's been 2016, so however long, 5 years ago, that was a big sort of wake up moment. I was, without giving you all the details, I was working about 80 hours a week in the office and then maybe 20 more at home, commuting 3 hours a day, just really being gone, not being present, and had some convicting conversations and just started to feel this surge of something needs to change. But that was one of the things that I really, really tried hard to focus on, was getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
Which is hugely critical for your physical health.
Oh, tons.
I mean, for most of my life, I've said, well, if I needed to get something done and I didn't have enough time to do it, whether I was overcommitted or I was procrastinating, whatever the reason was, or as a last minute deal, I just spend some of that sleep capital and say, well, I'll just pull an all-nighter and we'll get it done, and whatever. And then I started to read some things and hear doctors and some other people talk about how if you don't get enough sleep, so many things don't work right in your body.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
And I don't care how much you work out, that doesn't replace sleep.
Yeah.
And so I've done okay now and then, but much better than I used to, but trying to get the right amount of sleep every night is critical.
Yeah. I do not get enough sleep. But
y'all keep using this word sleep. What is that?
For those of you out there who don't know what sleep
for
is.
you younger people in the crowd. Well, Patrick, guess what happened while you were gone?
What happened?
We doubled.
Oh, I did hear about this.
We doubled.
Yeah.
Kevin Glenn.
There's a new Kevin Glenn.
I know. I can't wait for the first time he's on the podcast so I can say, hey, I'm here with Kevin and Glenn and Kevin Glenn.
Yes.
I'm just waiting. Just,
Yes.
yeah, it's going to happen.
Well, actually, it did. I mean, it did happen right as you were leaving, so you did know about it. But yeah, and we chatted with him, and he's excited to join us. We thought he might be joining us today, but didn't make it into town just yet, like we thought. And so he'll be here this weekend, but which will have been this past weekend for you listening, or further down the road. But yeah, can you deal with 4 of us?
Only one way to find out.
Let's do it.
It's kind of weird because we're not going to 4 of us.
No.
It'll be just 3 of us. But
I got to figure out what to call him though. I think his Instagram handle is RevKev, so I'm going to stick with that unless he tells me to stop.
RevKev, yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Well, like I said a few episodes ago, I'm sure he'll have a point of view on that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it is so exciting to sort of be past that milestone. Now I'm just ready to get into it. You know?
I'm ready to get started, to kind of ready to launch out there and see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things already in the works in terms of ministries and programs and things. And of course, everything's going to continue. It's just because we have a new lead pastor doesn't mean that
and
nothing will be the same.
And because we didn't just lay down and wait.
Right.
You know, things kept going.
Well, and I think that's one of the things I really appreciate about the way Northside has transitioned through the big change periods of, beginning of the year and COVID and then this change. That reminds me of something in a past episode that Dr. Ted Bryant had said about change is really not the thing people fear. Mm-hmm. It's loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't lose, I'm not going to say anything, but most everything in your transition, then it doesn't feel as painful. And so that's, to me, what it has kind of felt like a little bit, because there's been a lot of consistency, and kudos to the staff for keeping those things constant. And I know things will change, and I'm okay with that. And I'm actually excited for that in terms of being different, but I just appreciate the way it's gone so far.
Yeah. And we were rolling right through Vacation Bible School.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got a really punch in the nose of a reminder that COVID is still out there.
Right.
We had to take a break from Vacation Bible School for the rest of the week. And I was just, everybody was so excited, and all of a sudden,
yeah. It reminded me of the year that the stomach bug went. Yeah, the stomach bug went through, and it was like we had Monday, and a kid showed up, and then like that Tuesday there were a few fewer people. The Wednesday was like a ghost town. It was like half the people showed up, and so we didn't have it on Thursday, Friday. But
that stuff happens, you know, for sure.
And actually, even during COVID, I mentioned the stomach bug more than once, which I never caught the stomach bug or COVID, but to me, that was scarier than COVID was, because that thing went through in like 24 hours, and people were just boom, 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 falling like flies, and it was wild. But I actually mentioned that to Christy. Christy, this wasn't as bad as a stomach bug year. She goes, I think it was. I said, no, it wasn't.
No.
So
speaking of flies, the way my mind works is really scary. So I saw an armadillo on the way in.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask you, because you probably grew up with armadillos, right, Glenn?
Armadillos, yeah.
I've only seen them in the last, 10 years, maybe a little bit more as they progress north.
Yeah.
These fingers going up.
Those are called battle possums.
Battle possums.
Yeah.
So did you
possums on the half shell?
You never had they don't domesticate them, right?
Oh, actually, I do know some people who have pet armadillos.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. They caught them as little ones.
Oh, wow.
And they have pet armadillos, or they did. This was a while back.
Do they tear up stuff? What are the implications of having possums or not possums?
You could stub your toe on one, it might hurt.
Yeah. Well, they eat bugs and they eat ants and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so the worst part is they'll dig up your yard or your land, eating bugs and ants. They love ants. So, but yeah, they moved north. I remember people when we moved back here in 2000. People were like, "There's armadillos. I've never seen an armadillo in it." So some people say they walked across the Hernando Bridge and the other bridges,
which nobody can do now, right?
Exactly. And some people said they swam across the Mississippi River, and some people said they were brought on produce trucks and stuff, which who knows, but they're here.
They rolled up into a ball and people thought it was a cantaloupe.
Roll it on.
But we did, as kids, we would stop and take pictures with armadillos. We'd find a beer bottle and put it in their hands because they were the unofficial mascot of Lone Star Beer or something like that.
That's funny.
We would play with them all the time. But yeah, and they're supposed to have diseases and stuff like that. I've never really played with one, but ugh. Back in the day, Old Country Store had canned possum and canned armadillo.
No way.
But you'd open a can and be like a little stuffed one in there.
Oh,
But they were selling it. It just said
You got
canned
me.
possum, canned armadillo.
oh my goodness. Well, I've seen some pretty weird canned things, so
Yeah.
I fell for that one. Wow.
I'm sure Philip Stevenson, shout out to Philip Stevenson, who used to go here. He used to have a license plate on the front of his car when he was here in youth that said, "Eat possum, the other white meat." It's only in Tennessee.
I was thinking about last week, and we talked about movies and Jackson and movies.
Yeah.
I guess I'm the one that's lived here the longest.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that true?
We
Because
only
I'm
moved up
older
here
than
in
you,
2000.
Patrick. So
Yeah, but you moved away for a little while, so
12 years. So let's do the math.
Let's do the math.
I can't
Hold
do
on.
math right now, but
I've been here 21 years. I know it's easy. 2021. Done.
so I've been here 37,
yeah, you win.
36.
I'm not that old, so
Yeah. But I had not thought back to that time. We were talking in a previous episode about Jackson movie theaters, and there were actually 2 downtown.
Yeah, those pictures you posted on your social media were really cool,
Yeah.
too.
And there was one in the Old Hickory Mall for a long time.
Yeah.
I remember going there and seeing like a Pippi Longstocking movie and maybe E.T. there. I don't remember. But
yeah, those 2 downtown now are a parking lot, right?
yeah, there's no buildings there now. Right. I did have a question from one of my sons this week is why are drive-in movie theaters not around anymore? Because it would make a lot of sense in the COVID kind of.
Well,
They did.
There's one in Memphis still, isn't there?
Well, there's
There
one in
is.
Franklin, Kentucky for sure.
Well,
that
listen to
is-
this. They did make a comeback during COVID. There was one outside of, it's not Camden. Is it Camden?
Yes.
Up close to the Lakeshore zone.
Okay.
It is Camden. There's one outside of Camden. There's one now at the Safari Park.
I've
The
heard
Safari
of that.
Park
Yeah.
has put one in, and there's one in Memphis. And they that one down south here in Jackson is still up. Of course, it's been shut down for
Drove
years.
by it the other day.
But yeah, they made a little bit of a comeback this past year or two because of COVID, because it was a safe way for people. And in fact, a lot of music people getting to do concerts. The first places they were able to do
Right.
concerts was drive-in movie theaters.
Right.
And
the problem with all the movie theaters during COVID was there weren't any movies to show. So
That's true.
Well, a bunch of them were showing old ones.
Yeah.
And that's how
well,
they
we
did
went
it,
over
but-
to the Empire 8 a couple of times and saw some older. We saw like, what did we watch? The Goonies. We saw Empire Strikes Back. We went and saw the Santa Claus.
Yeah.
We just saw some of the older movies they were showing because it was like we finally got a decent movie theater in Jackson, and I was afraid it was going to close. So I needed to give it some give it some money. While
We went to the drive-in movies some when I was a kid. I remember one close to our house we'd go to some. But like my parents would always talk about sneaking friends in, trunks and blankets and all kinds of stuff, sneaking them into the movies
Yeah.
and meeting friends. And that really wasn't something we did because we went to inside movie theaters when I was a teenager. But yeah, the
Yeah.
drive-in movie's cool though.
I didn't really do that much as a kid because around here, there was a phase where then they started to become something else, like maybe like adult movies or something.
Yeah,
And so it just really wasn't an option for us. But I started going in Nashville, just over the line in Franklin, Kentucky is a movie theater up there where the horse track is.
Oh yeah.
And it was not that far a drive from where we lived. And we started doing that when, of course, we were adults, but our kids were younger. It was so much fun. It really was, because you could bring your own stuff and chairs, and there was a green area out front where all the kids would just play before the movie. and really, they had it. It was very reasonable in terms of the entry, and so I was curious about that.
What killed the drive-in movie theater? Does anybody know? I mean, was it just too expensive to run those things?
Well, that was my estimation. I'm not sure, really.
I think part of it also was that there was a big car culture back in the day that kind of seemed to die out because, or at least, from me watching movies about back in the day, you see like American Graffiti and things like that. Whereas the whole deal was you got a car, all your friends piled in the car and you drove the strip and, you went joyriding, those kinds of things. And so getting out into the car was how you socialized. And then as socializing changed, especially with like social media and things like that, you didn't have to go physically get in your car to go socialize. And that's because I remember even when, when I was in high school and stuff, starting to drive, it wasn't as big of a deal to, some people have kind of held on to that car culture and, they like to get the nice cars and all that.
Well, now, some of them don't even go get their driver's license.
And now it's like a lot of kids don't even want to go get driver's license. So how are you going to go to a drive-through if you don't even have a driver's license or a car? So I don't know. I feel like the culture around cars changed.
I didn't even think about that either.
So
that's a good thought.
True. Yeah, it's probably really true.
But there's a lot of maintenance involved. Just think about they're generally bigger.
Yeah.
For at least for one screen.
Well, and did higher definition movies mess that up?
I was just going to say,
you're casting that so far.
Plus, from the sound perspective, you just play it on your car speaker, and you don't have that surround sound kind of thing.
Exactly.
So when the technology started changing, where that was more of a draw, I think that's possible.
Although now, like the best sound system that most people own is in their cars, like.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. The way sound systems,
and that's what you do now. Is you have an FM receiver and you just tune to a channel and you listen to it in your car.
I don't know. These are some interesting thoughts. I hadn't.
Well, some people have made it work. Obviously,
yeah.
Whether it's just a nostalgia thing or it's profitable for them.
Yeah.
It must be in order to continue that service. So,
but we went with the youth here recently to see a movie at the Empire 8. Yeah. And it's sure hard to not want to sit in that recliner that sits back and have a little trade, put your stuff on, and it's just nice. It's hard to not want to do that.
Of course, if you have a pickup, you bring your own recliner.
That's the thing.
Oh my goodness!
I've only ever been to one drive-in movie theater. It was with the youth group. I don't know, a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think we went and saw.
It was in Memphis too.
It was in Memphis, and I don't even remember. There was like 2 movies that played. I don't even remember what
Usually
the second
it's a
one
double
was.
feature.
Yeah, but I remember I watched it was the Bourne Supremacy. So that like dates when that was. But yeah, there was a group of people that brought a couch and just set their couch out outside their car or their truck. And
we went to the one in Camden a couple of times with the girls, and it's great. It's fun. But dude, it is out there in the middle of the country.
Oh, is it?
And it is. If you're like, are we going to a movie theater or what? Because you're going down these little roads and stuff. But really a neat deal.
Well, I know a lot of like parks now show movies out at the park, and like the Amp downtown has showed some.
Yeah, big inflatable screens. And stuff.
Even some like I know my parents' neighborhood will do like a neighborhood movie, and
they do that a lot on college campuses too, is they'll throw up one of those big inflatable screens somewhere on campus and have movies. So I don't know, pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much, we talk about the lounger and thing like that at Empire, and how much we were talking last week about movies changing and maybe moving to more of the home setting, and if that will be a thing where theaters are like drive-in theaters to us, if it's back in the day.
I don't know. I think there's enough people that like the whole cinema culture that at least that'll stick around, because I know there's been kind of a flood since things have started showing again, especially with like Black Widow and other movies like that are coming out, bigger blockbuster movies, because we haven't had any up to this point. Kind of what y'all were talking about in the last episode. It's like, how are we halfway through July and we haven't had any like big summer blockbusters? And so,
and speaking of, The Chosen finished this past weekend their second season.
I'm still a couple episodes behind, so
I'm still a whole season behind.
I've been trying to catch up,
and they are going to have a third season.
Yeah,
and, but I'll just spoiler alert. But the last episode, they do introduce Judas finally as the last disciple, and it is interesting.
Now, didn't they originally say they felt like it needed to be 7 seasons, 5, 7, something like that.
Well, 7 is the
finish the
perfect
story.
number.
It is. It is.
I don't know. 7 just seems like that would
What
be
else
really
can you do?
drawn out, unless they're planning to do something more besides introduce each character, because it is about the disciples,
Right.
really, ultimately,
Right.
and Jesus and their relationship. But
Well, if they get into Paul,
yeah, they're going to
there could be a whole
Acts
season
and
about
stuff.
Paul.
Yeah, that would actually almost have to do.
Because
that.
honestly, with it being the chosen, like
Yeah.
you could even post, resurrection and all that. You
Sure.
could even get into some of the earlier
Yeah,
church stuff.
You're right,
Yeah,
you're right.
so
Or John's later life, for example. I think they could
They could do that.
find
I mean,
something
yeah.
to do.
But interesting stuff. Everybody loves the movies and the TV shows and the series and all the good stuff.
Yeah, so we've gotten away with talking about movies twice now. So it's
sorry, I
makes
had
me
to
happy.
get a little bit in. Yeah,
We knew. And we're sorry for doing that to you, Patrick. We knew that was painful for you.
of course, y'all waited till I wasn't here to talk about it. I get it. No, it's okay. It's okay.
You know what? I'm sure it'll come up as a topic in some future episode too.
I bet.
What kind of activities do we have coming up? I know we talked about VBS a little bit. We've got our mission focuses.
Yeah, we've actually got quite a bit coming up. So, I guess the big news first is old Rev Kev, the new preacher's here.
Old Rev Kev.
Yeah, don't say old.
I said old. It's OL.
Old Rev Kev.
Yeah, don't tell him I said that. Hey, if you're listening to this,
Yes,
He
sorry,
does listen.
Kevin.
He is a listener of Northside
sorry
Now.
about that. Yeah,
Old Rev Kev.
forgive me.
I'm still interested to see what his response is going to be when he realizes his youth director is older than he is.
That won't be an issue.
That'll probably be all right.
You're like, I got this old man up here.
You might get to hear that though a little more.
Well, our connection services for the next few weeks have a theme.
Okay,
and the
cool.
theme is how can I keep from singing? And so this coming Wednesday, I guess when you listen to this, it'll be tomorrow. The theme is going to be more contemporary music. Then the next week on the 28th is going to be more hymns. We're going to sing some older hymns and talk about that. And then on the 4th, the children are going to lead the connection service.
cool.
Which will be kind of cool.
Nice.
Well, speaking of that,
Well, I was going to say on the 4th, that connection service is also when Wednesday night meals are going to start back up. So
Aha.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're finally going to get to do that again. Our fellowship dinners on Wednesday nights. Yep. So those
I
will
do miss
start
those.
serving at 5 p.m. before the service.
Well, I do have a question. I posted this recently on my social media stuff because I was coming in church one day recently and Give Me Jesus, that song came on.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I'm driving and I'm completely falling apart. First, I have no idea to this day what that was about. It was just hearing that song and just, I love that song, but it's not one I think of often. And, so is there a hymn or a contemporary Christian song or something that kind of just catches you, and when you hear it, it just moves you?
Oh yeah.
What are those?
There's several, but the one right now that is sort of resonates most with my life is and I forget the title of it now. It's Matthew West, Truth Be Told. It's very relevant kind of right now where I'm at. And I think that's part of it, when
Where are you at? What's going on?
those songs that resonate at a certain time will probably always resonate just from a nostalgic point of view. And it will just catch you by surprise sometimes because it was very emotional at one point in your life. Maybe not as much anymore in the same way, but it kind of hits you the same way.
What about you, Patrick?
That's tough. There's a lot. I feel like this is going to get a little personal. No.
Well,
I'm afraid this will tell a little bit too much about me. I don't know. No, I've always liked that song, Draw Me Close. That's always gotten me, that one. Also like the You Are My King, that amazing love, how can it be?
yeah.
Yes.
That one, I always liked that one. As far as more contemporary stuff, there's a song that I've been listening to quite a bit. It's by a guy named Josh Baldwin.
Well, I go through periods where I don't listen to Christian radio very often.
Yeah, it's called
so-
Safe in Your Arms. That's the Safe in Your Arms.
Safe in Your Arms.
By Josh Baldwin. That's a good one.
Well, David Crowder just put out some new stuff not long ago, and Casting Crowns, and some of them are my favorites, and so they kind of drew me back to listen to Christian radio again a little bit more, because you just go through periods where you really identify with it or you don't, because with Spotify and all that, I can pull up what I want to, right?
Right.
Yeah. Listen to the radio, but the radio is, I found some new ones on the radio lately, and I don't know why, but Give Me Jesus. But I love it when we go back and do the sing-alongs with the hymns and the songs that we like and love and mean a lot to us. So,
well, we're doing that on
try not to miss those services.
28th. Yeah,
try not to miss those.
Oh, I forgot to mention this also on the 4th with the children leading and the meals starting back. All the children's activities are also starting back that night. So Covenant Kids, all your children's choirs, all that kind of stuff.
And that's also confirmation orientation for the new confirmation class that night. And the youth will go back to meeting for small groups.
And on the 1st, it's Promotion Sunday. So people will be in new classes, and
it's always exciting.
It's a big thing. Green Sheets are starting back in August. So
on the 1st, probably.
On the 1st, probably, yeah. So get ready for that.
Green Sheets.
Oh,
and Green Sheets, in case you're listening to this, you don't know what it is. This is kind of the place where you sign up to use your spiritual gifts in the church.
Yeah, it's ministry opportunities.
Yeah.
It's if there's a place you want to plug in the church and give your gifts back to God.
Yeah, you feel like you're called in there. And that's going to be on the website too?
Yeah.
It's going to be on the website?
It's going to look a little different this year, but not a whole lot.
It's still going to be green though, isn't it?
Yeah, and they'll introduce all that.
We have a stock of green paper we need to get through.
I don't want to steal Daphne's thunder. So.
Yeah.
But before we get there, Glenn, you've got a St. Louis trip with the youth.
We're taking the youth to St. Louis. We had a great response to that. And the 27th through the 29th, we're going up to St. Louis to hang out at Six Flags and do kind of a one final hoorah before we go back to school.
That'll be fun.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. The outreach team has been working on something, and they're going to kick off a mission focus in August. So a lot of stuff's happening in August. Just be ready.
But the rest of July, make sure you bring your toys.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff for the first responders. And
who's winning?
The baby bottles. I heard the adults were winning, but the children and youth did a little bit of a pull up during BBS.
Sure.
Yeah, and then there's also the change, the birth choice. Yeah,
the
and
march
the baby bottles
for baby bottles.
Lots going on. That's great.
That is good. Good stuff. And Rev Kev,
he's gonna hate it that we're.
He's not going to be preaching the first Sundays he's here.
No, he said he was going to kind of hang out and watch and just kind of get to know us and before he steps in and starts preaching. He wants to kind of see how we operate. I think that's wise on his part.
I do too, yeah.
That makes me feel good.
So it'll be at least a couple weeks before he's in the pulpit, so don't come racing up here thinking you're going to hear him and then be disappointed. You're like, I thought y'all said y'all got someone new. We'll let you know. He's going to be with us sometime on the podcast soon, and so he'll fill us in, I'm sure. So
it'll be awesome.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
I'm overly optimistic.
I'm pumped. Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's go.
Well, guys, thanks for podcasting with me. It's good to be back. And thanks to all of you who are listening for joining us this week on Northside Now. Make sure you visit our website, northsidejackson.com. Check us out on Instagram. That's Northside Now Podcast. And shoot us an email to podcast@northsidejackson.com. We'd love to hear from you. Also, make sure you never miss a show by clicking on the subscribe button. And while you're at it, if you find this show to be informative or entertaining, consider rating us on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And once again, this is Patrick.
This is Glenn.
And I'm Kevin.
And that's what's happening at Northside Now. Bye-bye.